Welcome to the Live Your Dreams podcast, where success leaves clues. Someone has your answer. Joined as always with my lovely co-host, Miss Tia McKissick.
Hello.
How are you today, Tia?
Great.
Good. How was your week?
Oh, we had a good week. How was yours?
Really good. Yeah, absolutely. Before we get started, let's help someone real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, Fund and Grow. Go to the link down in the description box and get a free funding training if you register. Again, Fund and Grow. Fund and grow your business, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so getting back to that, Tia. So again, the topic today is how to stay healthy. And that's a good topic. I think one of the good things about that is it's an ongoing process.
Right. We got to encourage each other to stay healthy and go to the doctors and eat right.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is, especially with the weight loss piece, I know, believe it or not, at the beginning of the year,
you lost a lot of weight.
I was at 272.
Right.
Now I'm down to below 240. I got 2.5 months to get down to 220. So I still got 20 more pounds to go. But now that I think about the weight that I was putting on, I look back and say, wow, that was a lot of weight. You know what I mean? That was definitely a lot of weight. And I still got some work to do. And that's why I say, definitely living your dreams and talking about health and how to stay healthy. It's an ongoing process. It's every day.
Every day.
It's not you do one thing and you're done for the month. It's everyday process of doing that.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think is the number one thing on how to stay healthy?
Well, the number one thing is, first of all, drinking your water, exercise 30 minutes a day, walking, and having someone hold you accountable.
Yeah, I think that's the number one thing.
Because a lot of times you fall off and you say, oh, I don't feel like going to the gym, or I don't feel like getting on a treadmill, or I don't want to drink this water today, I want to drink a soda. But if you got somebody that's helping you saying, no, let's do this. Yeah,
last winter, I'm glad the winter time is coming back, because last winter when it started getting dark early, where we couldn't walk at night.
It seemed like we had to go to the gym.
Yeah, but it seemed like we would wake up earlier. When in the wintertime, it seemed like, especially I think November the 6th or somewhere around then, when time goes back, I think it's easier to wake up early to go to the gym and do things like that. But I think the easy part about it, or it wasn't easy, but what made it easy was you had somebody look over to you, and you were there to say, hey, come on, let's go. That was probably the part that really helped, where you had that accountability partner to kind of get you there. And looking back, and I'm sure if you watch the podcast, the story I talk about. My mom died of colon cancer.
Right.
My grandfather had the similar route. My father was an alcoholic, died of a heart failure. But one of the things about it, when you look at some of the, I guess, I don't know if it's generational piece, but a lot of the habits that we had or we learned were habits that kind of hurt your health instead of help your health. Right. So I think now we're really trying to get those habits in place, like walking, exercising, eating better.
I think people now are more educated now.
Yeah, I think so too. I think now, I remember when I told you the story where my grandfather would give me the raw hot dogs right out the refrigerator. And now that I look back on that, like, how in the world did I eat raw hot dogs? That's just so that's funny. Well, it ain't funny, but it's like, how in the world did that happen? Right. And
maybe someone gave them to him.
Yeah, maybe. And I guess it was just to have food. Probably was because I know he worked very hard. So just to have food probably was.
But just like some people eat pig feet, I can't.
Yeah, I never forget when I don't know if we first got married, but I know we had. I used to eat chitlins a lot. And I mean, I remember we went down to North Carolina with your parents, and your parents, myself, we enjoyed chitlins. Of course, you didn't.
No.
But I haven't had chitlins now, had to be at least 20 years probably.
Right.
Yeah, it had to be a while. So that's amazing how some of the health things that we used to do was just passed down to you.
Right.
But I think now it's coming where we're getting generations to start to do better.
Right.
Right. And not saying that because the generations before us had to overcome some unbearable barriers, but they did it. But I think now we're getting to the point where we're starting to get some habits in place to take us to a whole nother level.
Right.
Especially when it comes to health-wise.
Right.
What do you think is the number one thing when it comes to health to keep your health going?
Well, first and foremost, going to the doctor. Mm-hmm. And exercise.
And I think
what do you think?
Well, I think you were vital for me consistently going to the doctor, because before that I didn't go to the doctor, but now I go to the doctor definitely every year for the physical.
Right.
And sometimes if there's anything, I mean any type of mole or anything, we go to the doctor.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things you taught me.
Right. You got to encourage each other, because some people think, well, I'm not hurting or anything, I don't need to go. But you do need to go for preventive, because sometimes you may go and you're feeling fine, and you know, they may see something.
Because again, I already had 3 colonoscopies, and the first time, like I said, there was a polyp, and say I wouldn't have went because I wasn't feeling no pain.
Right.
But it was in my genes that colon cancer ran, rapid.
Well, I had a polyp too.
Right. So I think that preventive piece. So even if you're feeling fine, I would say still go to the doctor.
Still go.
Because again, they may be able to find something that may not even been a symptom.
Right.
But with the proper test, they can find something that can be, they can help with.
Right.
You asked me the question on what do I think it is. I think the number one thing is for me is the exercise. Still, I haven't got it down where my eating habits are where I want them.
Right.
But every day we get better. But I think the exercise piece, I'm starting to get down, especially with the walking 30 minutes a day.
Right, you've been consistent.
It's like now, if I don't walk 30 minutes a day, I would feel weird. You know, I would feel edgy.
And I got a vibrating machine.
Yeah. Oh, you love that thing. Now, the story behind that, you bought that for me for what? Was that my Father's Day gift?
Yeah.
So it was my Father's Day gift, the vibrate machine. But Tia actually used it every day. And that's what's so weird about it. And I don't get on it that much.
Well, I wanted you to get on it.
Yeah. And you do see the results. I mean, I am a fan of that. But I think the number one thing is exercise is probably if you say what's the best thing on health, I would say exercise, right? If you look at our past generations, especially if you go down 3-4 generations back, like my grandmother's grandmother,
right,
who was a slave, you got to think the physical activity that she had, even though the diet might not have been there, the physical activity was there. So I think the physical activity has to be there, but then I think the diet has to be proper.
Right, that's true. Because
the diet is what brings those ailments on. Even if you have that physical activity going, those ailments going to come because of the diet.
Right.
Right? So, and again, I'm not a medical doctor. The number one thing we say is go see a doctor. But I think the number one thing is going to the doctor, get your physical fitness in, get your diet right.
And drink the water.
And that's what I was about to say, too. Drink that water. Because I didn't know, I put blueberries in my water. But I think that water piece, where I started to enjoy water.
Right.
Like now, I remember we were listening to somebody say, you're not hungry, you're thirsty.
That's true.
Which is true. Sometimes you may think you're hungry, but really you're thirsty. Right? So real quick, let's just take a quick break for our sponsors, and then we'll get right back into that piece, especially with the drinking water. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, Short Child Care, short name, long in service, working hard to expand. There is a waiting list, but still call the number on the screen and get on the waiting list. Although Short Child Care is full, get on the waiting list. Short name, long in service. That was Tom's quote. All right. All right, so getting back to that piece, especially with the water piece, when you drink water, because I know you put something in your water too. What do you put in your water?
Frozen fruit.
Frozen fruit. But sometimes you put a green liquid in there.
Oh, chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll. Where did you get that from? Because seriously, I didn't like the taste of it. But where did you get that from?
Well, it comes from like green leafy, like greens and stuff. That's why the greens is green. Mm-hmm. But it was on TikTok. So
what's the benefit of that?
Weight loss. It lowers your blood pressure, your cholesterol.
Really? So I mean, so you do you like the taste of that? Because it seemed like it was bitter to me.
And it actually makes your stomach flat.
Really? So, I mean, how do you get past that taste? Or the taste doesn't bother you?
Because I want all the benefits.
Ah, there you go. So it's worth it.
It's worth it.
It's like the medicine.
Right.
You take the medicine.
I just take it. You know?
Yeah. Because I tried it, but I didn't like the taste of it. I put blueberries in my water. Because
you can do that.
Yeah, well, sometimes what the blueberries do, if you let them sit in there, because what I do, I get frozen blueberries, I put them in there, and then it keeps your water cold all day.
Right.
But also, at the end of the night, if you want something, you could just always eat the blueberries. That's what I do.
True.
So, I mean, that's pretty good. That's one of the things we're trying to get that diet under control.
Well, it's whatever that works for you, as long as you get that water down.
Yeah.
But some people don't like water.
Yeah, and believe it or not, it's so funny. I was reading something, but they said the trick, when you drink that water, especially if you just start and you don't like water, just say, hey, this is life, right? And drink and say, this is life. And that's just... True. Psychologically, it gets you to say, I really want this.
Right.
And believe it or not, if you start drinking water, your body starts craving it. That's true. Then you realize you say, hey, I need some water.
Right.
Remember we used to go to those parks, and we would always get sodas.
Oh, yeah.
And the sun would be shining, and we would get soda. I couldn't see myself doing that now. I probably would faint. If
we would give it to our kids. We'd be like, here, you want.
That's that generational thing.
Then they would want more soda.
Right.
But we didn't know that you were supposed to be out there with water.
Right. But what was so funny is that I'm thinking if I would be in the sun, especially Florida sun, but if I was in the sun and I would say drink a soda, I probably would faint. I think I would. But now it's like
it like dehydrates you.
Yeah, because it's like now I need to drink water. But it's so funny. But that's like you said, we would give it to our children like we were doing something. Like
we thought we was doing something.
Get the refill. Get the refill.
Then 2 minutes later, I'm thirsty again.
Yeah.
And you wondering why? I'm like, well, they not drinking water.
Right. Right. And I remember we thought we were doing something like that. But again, that's that generational thing that we talk about. Not saying we hated our kids. We love our kids, but we would give them that soda in the park.
That's because our parents gave us soda. And,
right. It was almost like a privilege that you were able to get it.
To get that Pepsi.
Because again, there was a time when you couldn't even get that, right? Because you didn't have the resources. So I think with that, especially the generation coming now, we're working much harder, got more opportunities.
Right.
Where now we have to say, hey, now that we have these opportunities, let's start doing better by ourselves and by our family. Especially training our children in a better way than we were trained. And I know our parents did everything they could for us. So I have no complaints on my mom. And I know your parents did a really amazing job. So we have no complaints on that. And my grandparents loved them dearly, and don't think it was malice by them doing that. Just didn't know. But I think with the health piece, I think we're starting to get now with a generation now that's starting to learn that, hey, that's probably ain't the right thing to do. Right. And starting to eat better. And I think that's one of the things. But physical fitness, that's the number one. I would say it's definitely physical fitness. It just makes you feel better for me. But also one of the things, I think the number one thing would you say is go see your doctor. Because believe it or not, going to see the doctor can prevent so many things.
Right. And I know some people have a fear of doctors and don't want to go, but just go. None of us want to go, but we go because we know it's right.
Why do you think it's a fear to go to the doctor?
Well, some people don't want to hear bad news,
Yeah, I could understand that, but sometimes it's not always bad news though.
Right.
Sometimes it's life-saving news that you'll get.
That's true.
Some
people really are fearful.
Yeah, but one of the things about it is not always bad news, but I guess the fearful piece, and I'm trying to remember, was I ever feared?
The fear always I want to go,
Yeah, because what if you don't go? I guess that's what gets me. Like if I don't go,
if I don't go, then you fearful if you go.
Yeah, I remember it was probably after I had my first colonoscopy when the doctor, changed my whole thought, especially because again I thought for a fact I was going to die of colon cancer because of my mom. I was on the doctor's chair crying. Because I was so fearful. But I never forget we had a primary care physician who did some blood work on me and said, this is how she'll find out if I have prostate cancer.
Right.
She did some type of test with my blood and said,
"Oh,
hey,
right,
this
they check it."
Yeah, and said this is how I could find out if you at risk for prostate cancer.
Right.
So that's why it's so important to go every single year at a minimum
Right.
for your annual physical,
Right.
and let them run those tests, because if something, they could detect if something's going wrong or
Right,
not in
that's
the right direction. I can't wait for I get my next physical in the next, I guess, 4 months, because one of the good things about that is that I want to see if I can get will I still be pre-diabetic now that I'm losing more weight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Will I still be pre-diabetic? So I'm looking forward to that. So in conclusion, you had anything, Tia, with that?
Drink your water and get with your spouse or your wife or your children and encourage them to go to the doctor and exercise 30 minutes a day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Number one thing, go to your doctor, because if you do, I'll see you. And yes, I do mean you. Living your dreams. Peace.